When back in 2012, I believe that was when iCarly ended. I was honestly so sad because that great show we all knew and loved was going away. And like everything, all good things come to an end because not everything is sustainable and running. And obviously, other actors want to move on and do better things and move on from things that got them big gigs. And when we heard the news of the fact, or when I heard the news of the fact that there was going to be a reboot of iCarly, I was honestly shocked. And the fact that the iCarly, some people call it reboot. I'm gonna probably call it the revival of iCarly. Was definitely something to just witness. Hey guys, this is Camfrey15. Welcome to the channel if you are a first-time viewer, and I'm here to talk about iCarly. Now, some things I've not watched the second or third episodes, but if you guys haven't known, the iCarly reboot has given people the first 3 episodes essentially to binge on Paramount Plus. Yes, you're gonna have to have a Paramount Plus subscription to be able to watch the iCarly reboot. If you want to know the pricing, one price is a pretty nice package price, which I end up having is a $4.99 price tag. Now they will still have ads in your videos, but essentially you have everything accessible to Paramount Plus for $4.99. Or if you want to do just the regular standard, what seems to be the typical regular streaming service price, $9.99, you get no ads with a bunch of more perks than just a regular $4.99 setup and stuff like that. But that's where you can watch iCarly, the reboot. But as I was stating, when it first ended, I know there was a lot of people that were very emotional over its ending. It was a good way to end the show. Obviously, you had your spinoffs like Sam and Cat, and obviously you just had the actors just doing their own relatively own things over the time of iCarly's, series ending. And that ended in 2012. So 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. 10 years after the final episode aired. Today was the return of iCarly. And man, to say that I wasn't smiling from the start of the episode to the end of the episode, it really goes to show you how much I've missed this show, how much the entire iCarly community has missed this show. Because when this was announced, people were overjoyed. And obviously, people were also afraid too, like, is this going to turn into your typical reboot of a series where they bring back a very iconic show and it tends not being as good as its obviously first alliteration. And I think even though I've already watched 1 episode in, I think it's without a shadow of a doubt, I think this iCarly reboot is definitely a must watch, and definitely, I would say from what I've seen so far, lives up to what we saw in the very original series of iCarly. This first episode, man, just had so many feels, so many moments, and just great funny things that we know about iCarly. Like, the characters, they're still the same old characters we all love and know. Obviously, with a bunch of new characters we have in, obviously, this show. But obviously, you have your series regulars from the original, Carly, Freddie, and Spencer, all played by Miranda Cosgrove, Jerry Traynor. And hold on as I get the freaking Freddy voice actor. And that is Nathan Kress as Freddie Benson. Again, it was great to see them again, just utterly just kill their roles again like they did. And man, was it something to see, because when the episode starts off with Carly opening the door and then you just hear the character of Carly, you're just like, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing this show again. And it's funny because everybody's been throwing around the meme of when Miranda Cosgrove did that one image where she was looking at her screen back on when she was Drake and Josh as Megan. And then now they kind of, I guess you can say, do what I'm guessing is a homage or a reference or a callback to that scene where you have an older Carly doing the same exact thing looking. And I've been seeing that meme go around saying me watching iCarly in 07 and now me watching iCarly in 2021. It's just so great to see this show finally back. Now I'm going to talk some spoilers and stuff like that, but nothing much big. I will say this, obviously the biggest thing we know about this reboot is obviously two very big characters, which are AKA Sam, played by Jeanette McCurdy, or formerly played by Jeanette McCurdy, and then obviously another big actor, Gibby, played by, as I look up his name, Noah Munich. They obviously did not reprise their roles in the iCarly reboot. And then I think I did hear that they reached out to them and said if they wanted to, but out of respect to them, they didn't want to be involved with the project. Now, who knows? Maybe we'll see a special cameo or a special episode where maybe they make an appearance. Who knows? I'm not really going to get my hopes up. We already know the whole Jeanette McCurdy side of things when it comes to her acting role, and she's done the whole thing. I don't know what's about going on with Noah and stuff like that, but it would be cool. Again, I wouldn't mind if they made like a one-time episode appearance, but again, that's if they would like to come back and if they're comfortable with doing that too, and stuff like that. But yeah, that's obviously was the one big talking point in this reboot is, well, where's Sam? Is Sam going to be in this? Obviously, details have come out about Jeanette McCurdy and stuff like that, but that's her own personal life. I like the fact that, they're respecting her wishes of not wanting to participate in this, because I feel like if they just had forced her into doing this, and she was going to just be unhappy doing this, like, what's the point if you're not going to give 110% effort in something you don't want to really be in, and you kind of just want to be like, I kind of just want to do my own thing. So I respect the fact that they asked her, like, would you care to join? And she respectfully said, no, I'm good, and stuff like that. But I felt like even without Sam, this first episode was good enough on its own. It still had the charm, the passion from the actors of the original iCarly. And speaking of Sam, they do make a reference towards Sam and what I guess you could say she's doing. So spoilers if you haven't seen the first episode. They say in the first episode, Sam is off and joined a biker gang. So I'm guessing, because we know in the final episode of iCarly, from what I remember, she did end up getting a motorcycle. And obviously she rode that motorcycle to Kat's place in Los Angeles. And then now, guess what? She's in a biker gang now. So I guess you can say that makes sense. If you're going to ask me, do I like the way they explain what she's done and, the way they write her character off? I'm perfectly fine with it, because that seems personally out of Sam's character to join a biker gang. I thought it was a perfect way. I thought it was a pretty good way to write her character off, as a way as, oh, she's doing this, so maybe she could make a return if Jeanette McCurdy feels like it. Again, there's no guarantees there. But I do like the fact that they referenced Sam in this episode. They actually reference her and bring her up multiple times in the episode. And I really do appreciate they just didn't drop the ball and say, you know, we're just going to totally forget Sam, because most reboots would more than likely just not speak about a character that isn't there. Like, for example, another reboot that came out about a year or two ago was the That's So Raven reboot. Obviously, the one thing they failed to mention about that is the whole, obviously, the one dude and the one guy in their friend group. And we know what happened to that guy in real life. And obviously, you can't reference that on Disney Channel and stuff like that with what he's doing. But, you know, I like the fact that iCarly caters to the viewers that watched when they were 10, 12, young kids, essentially. And now they're catering to people that are our age, my age. I'm 22. People around that age where those kids have grown up, they're in their early 20s now. Like some of the characters who are portrayed in the story, they're in their early 20s or mid 20s, really late 20s to be honest, and stuff like that. And I really like the fact that they did that, because most reboots, they don't do that. Most reboots, when they bring back a classic show, whether it's an old animation, an old animated TV show, or just a live action show, they cater and dumb it down to the kids of this generation, the kids that didn't know the first original series to that reboot coming back. And I've always said, if you want to make a successful reboot, you do what the original series does and have some of those elements sprinkled in by putting a little bit of touch of newness into that series to make it just as enjoyable as the original series is. I haven't watched a few episodes of Raven's Home. I honestly, you could say I enjoy Raven's Home. But I feel like Raven's Home's definitely focusing a lot more on Raven's kids than what made That's So Raven so good, and that's Raven. Although they do focus on the funny stuff with what Raven does and her comedic stuff does, they focus morely on her son and her daughter. In iCarly, I didn't see much of anything. They didn't focus really much on what's the little girl's name? Millicent, and obviously, you know, Harper, or say they had Carly have kids or something like that, and they focus on their kids and stuff like that. Maybe if this was on Nickelodeon, maybe they would have did that and made them have, far into the future, have kids, and they focus more on the kids. Well, Carly's doing the iCarly stunt and everything. I like the fact that they focus strictly on our characters, really the original three characters, and you know, the fact that they have this strong bond, they're all together. Now, they definitely explain in this episode what they have been doing the past 10 years after the final episode of iCarly. Essentially, we find out that Carly, after living with her pops in Italy, I believe, from whatever, it's been a long time since I've seen the final episode of iCarly. I probably should have watched that before watching this episode. She finally returns back to Seattle. She lives in the same apartment as Spencer does, just like a few stairs higher in another apartment area, along with her new college friend and her college buddy, Harper, played by Lacey Mosley. And obviously Jaden Triplett is the stepdaughter, or the adopted daughter to Freddie. And that's what we also find out. Freddie has had 2 marriages and has been divorced in both, and he has a stepdaughter that they adopted that is actually from his second wife, that they essentially share the whole, I guess you can say, child services payments and stuff like that. But it's great to see. And then we find out too that Spencer, you know, he's a great, you know, artist, or a great inventor with his stuff, and he's very, very freaking rich now, and he's like a superstar now, which is hilarious. So I like the fact that they explain a lot. The only thing that's kind of a little bit, you know, hard to understand is really, I really do wish they kind of went a little bit more into Carly's backstory after the revival of the show, after the ending of the show, of when did she eventually get back to Seattle, but she essentially kind of sums it up saying like, well, I did college and stuff like that and yada yada yada. So yeah, now the first episode kind of, again, like what I would say is the revival of iCarly. Carly thinks about starting up a new channel with her boyfriend, but turns out her boyfriend breaks up with her in the first few minutes of the episode, and it's kind of just Carly trying to figure out what to do and come out of this depression and stuff like that. And obviously that's when Freddie brings up the point when after they were done talking about Sam, is Freddie's like, well, you don't really need a partner, you started iCarly, and guess what? You had all the freaking talent in the world to come up with things and make it funny and stuff like that. And that's what gets iCarly thinking, like, you know what? Yeah, let's redo this show and let's make a comeback and stuff like that. And I just love the scene when she goes into the iCarly studio with the old loft and she pulls out so many things from the show we've seen in the past. Like, they make an homage again to Sam with the mustache that they always made fun of, like, that's a squirrel on your mustache and everything. The bra that freaking talked, that whole thing, man. And when she was going through all the items from the box and she was like, oh man, this is so things like from the past, I didn't cry, but I literally teared up on the inside because I'm like, bro, we've seen this and it's so freaking it's so heartwarming to see all these things and stuff like that. And then when you get the show started, we're seeing baby Spencer and stuff like that, and how funny that is. I was honestly laughing out loud. It was such a great, first episode to watch, because they bring you the goodness of obviously iCarly, and they just make it stick. And I really appreciate the fact that for this reboot, and why I feel like it feels different from most reboots, again, it caters to the audience that is watching this. They're not catering it to this current generation's 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds who, let's be honest, don't have money to buy a Paramount Plus subscription and watch it. And they wouldn't even know, like, who the hell is Carly? Who the hell is Freddie? What the hell are they talking about? Who's this Sam character? They didn't watch nothing of the original, so they don't know. And I love the fact that Paramount Plus, I love the fact that this went to Paramount Plus instead of going straight to Nickelodeon. Because I'm going to tell you from Fatata, I believe if this show went to Nickelodeon, this show gets dumbed down horrendously, because obviously TV shows are now more sensitive than anything. And I went on Twitter to hear what people have been saying. I didn't see the clip, but I heard Carly says a cuss word that is crazy, and we hear Spencer in the first episode actually say the word damn, which if this show was on Nickelodeon, they would not have the freedom to say words like that, which I think is a perfect plan. I think that was a perfect plan. It still sucks you have to pay to watch it, but hey, regardless, if you really want to watch a show, you're going to pay for something regardless. And just to see this show brought back, and the fact that Paramount Plus is like, no, we want to make this a very mature show, a very adultish show, something that, has elements from the show, but just more adultish, more mature, essentially more adult humor, more adult jokes that people our age can understand, something that a 10-year-old could look at and maybe somewhat understand, but not fully understand, and stuff like that. And I appreciate it. I also love the fact that, and you've heard even in the interviews with Miranda Cosgrove, Jerry Trainer, and Nathan Kresses, they wanted to do a project that they're going to feel passionate about doing. And I really applaud them. They all do a great job in their roles. Again, it's just like they had never left to begin with. Miranda Cosgrove plays Carly Shay just to the, teeth as she did from the original show. Like, it literally is the same exact Carly. And it's like, when you look at Miranda, it's like, you don't identify her as Miranda Cosgrove. You identify her as like, no, she's Carly. And it's just great to see her reprise her role again. I could tell she had a lot of fun doing this. I loved Spencer's funny moments. They make an homage in the episode to one of his previous inventions or his creations from the original series, which I just marked out on. They had a homage to Freddy's mother, because that's where he's also living. He's living in his mother's room, in his mother's apartment complex again, or in the same room as his mother. And they make a mom's reference and marked out again. I'm telling you, great moments. Now, as for Millicent and Harper, I very much enjoyed their characters. You know, it's definitely going to take some getting used to their characters. I hope Millicent doesn't turn into a bratty kid character, because I really don't like that. But from this first episode, she looked pretty solid, and honestly, she had some pretty good lines that I honestly laughed out loud at, which I thought was pretty funny. And Harper, I think she's gonna be a very hilarious, funny character in this reboot, man. She honestly, you could say, next to the whole show, I enjoyed her, you know, the most in this episode, because it was just great with what she gave us. Like, she made me die of pure laughter with everything she said. So yeah, I like the fact Carly's more mature. They bring up the fact that it seems like she's going to be in multiple relationships. At the end of the day, I feel like what's going to happen is, if for the grand scheme of things, because there was actually an interview hyping up the show even more, between, obviously, and there was an interview with Miranda, Nathan, and Jerry. They did make a reference to Creddy and Seti in that one interview, and Miranda kind of somewhat, I guess you can say, gave away that Carly might secretly still have feelings for Freddy. Now, hopefully it's not as forced, which I believe they're going to go the direction of Carly and Freddy eventually hooking up and then eventually settling down, because let's be honest, Freddy's like Carly from day one. We've all known that from the original show, and it would make perfect sense that, you know, he kind of gave her the idea to restart iCarly, you know, and Carly seems like she can't find a stable enough boyfriend, and our boy Freddy has been in 2 divorces. It only makes sense that they're gonna probably more than likely be together by the end of this reboot. Whenever that ends, I really do hope we get a second season. There is scheduled to have 17 episodes of this reboot. Again, there's no guarantees that we're gonna get a second season. Hopefully we get a few seasons of this reboot of iCarly. I think if it does good enough where people love it, I definitely think Paramount Plus is gonna greenlight a second season, which I think is gonna more than likely happen. So 17 episodes. The first 3 episodes released today. And now after these 3 episodes, you're just gonna get 1 episode every week going forward, and stuff like that. That's kind of it for me talking this reboot of iCarly. I very much enjoyed the first episode. I'm looking forward to seeing episode 2 and 3. And I'm just happy that the spirit of this show is back, and it's not a dumbed down reboot that you watch the first episode, it looks promising, but at the same time you can, you know, have its flaws. I'm not saying this reboot of the first episode is perfect, and nor am I going to say this show is going to be 100% perfect. But, you know, if they can just make me laugh and not make me where I'm just sitting in my chair pissed off, where I'm just enjoying it, I think this is going to be a pretty good reboot. And I definitely enjoyed this. I definitely can't wait to see more. I definitely can't wait to see more guest cameos from the original show, if they manage to do it, if they manage to be able to have former actors from the original come back in this and stuff like that. And but that's all I'm gonna say. So if you guys haven't seen the reboot of iCarly, again, you can go get yourself a Paramount Plus subscription. The lowest you can get is a $4.99 subscription. You're paying $4.99 a month. You get a whole month, actually, if you haven't signed up for Paramount Plus for a whole month. So you get a whole month of Paramount Plus, and then after that month, you know, free trial is up, you start paying your subscription fees. So, you know, hopefully you guys are able to get that subscription and watch it and watch along with everybody else that's watching along this great show. And yeah, so other than that, guys, if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section, what are your thoughts on the iCarly reboot? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you in the middle? Did you like some of the things that the reboot did? And what are some things that you didn't like? Stuff like that. As well as hit that subscribe button if you want to get more iCarly content. Again, I didn't talk about the second or third episode. If you're going to ask if I'm going to do a review of those episodes, I'm not. I'm going to start officially doing my iCarly reboot reviews on a weekly basis, which will be spoilers. So make sure you guys watch those episodes before you see it. I will be doing weekly reviews for iCarly, essentially till the series is done for, I guess, in this season. Expect episode 4 review probably next week on Thursday. Other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or night. I'm gonna down this video, and hopefully you guys have a blast watching iCarly. So then, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.